The cool autumn breeze rustled my hair as I looked around the bonfire. Laughter echoed, shadows danced, and the sweet scent of burning wood filled the air. Halloween in our town was more than just costumes and candy. It was an event, a tradition. Ever been to the old witch's house on Elm Street? Jake called out, a teasing edge to his voice as he tossed another log into the fire. The flames jumped, casting an eerie glow on everyone's faces. You mean the candy house? That's just an urban legend, man, I scoffed, rolling my eyes. Legend or not, no one goes there. You know the stories, Lisa chimed in, her voice barely above a whisper, as if even mentioning the house would summon some dark force. I leaned back, feeling the warmth of the fire on my face. Stories are just that, stories. I bet it's just some lonely old lady living there, and you're all too scared to find out. Jake raised an eyebrow, his grin widening. Prove it, Alex. I dare you to go there and get some of that cursed candy. The group fell silent, waiting for my response. I could feel their eyes on me, a mix of fear, anticipation, and challenge. The weight of the dare hung in the air, thick and palpable. I stood up, brushing the dirt off my jeans. All right, I'll do it. And when I come back with the candy, you all owe me big time. A chorus of gasps and murmurs spread through the group. Lisa grabbed my arm, her fingers cold and trembling. Alex, it's not a joke. People say those who eat the candy never come back. I gently pulled away, trying to hide the unease building inside me. Don't worry. It's just candy. I'll be back before you know it. Leaving the warmth of the fire and the comfort of my friends, I made my way down the dimly lit streets. The festive sounds of Halloween grew fainter with each step, replaced by the soft crunch of fallen leaves beneath my feet. The old woman's house loomed in the distance, its silhouette stark against the moonlit sky. It was an ordinary-looking house, except for the eerie silence surrounding it. I hesitated for a moment, considering turning back. But pride and curiosity propelled me forward. I reached the doorstep and knocked. The door creaked open, revealing the shadowed face of the old woman. Her eyes, milky with age, fixated on mine with an intensity that belied her frailty. Without uttering a word, she extended a gnarled hand holding a single piece of candy. It gleamed strangely, catching the dim light in a way no ordinary candy should. I hesitated for a fraction of a second, thinking of the stories and warnings. But pride and curiosity got the better of me. With a smirk, I took the candy, unwrapped it, and popped it into my mouth. A rush of coldness surged through me. The world spun, colors blurring into a whirlwind of darkness. I tried to call out, to scream, but no sound emerged. The sensation was like plunging into deep, icy water, the pressure and chill enveloping me from all sides. And then, as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. I found myself standing in the middle of the town square, but this wasn't the festive Halloween setting I remembered. The sky was a deep shade of crimson, casting an unsettling glow on the surroundings. The houses, once charming and familiar, now looked decrepit, their structures twisted and windows shattered. I tried to move, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. Whispers filled the air, echoing from every direction. They spoke of regrets, of fears, of unfulfilled desires. My heart raced, and I felt the weight of countless eyes upon me. From the shadows emerged figures, their faces grotesque parodies of human emotion, contorted in expressions of anguish and terror. One face, however, stood out amongst the horde, a silhouette that seemed vaguely familiar, beckoning me with a crooked finger. The whispers grew louder, urging me to follow. Against my better judgment, I did. The figure led me through a labyrinth of narrow alleys and twisted streets. Each turn revealed scenes more horrifying than the last. Children, their faces hollow, chased after a ball that seemed to move on its own. A man, his body twisted unnaturally, danced to a tune only he could hear. And in the distance, the ever-present mountain, its peak hidden in a swirl of dark clouds and intermittent lightning. But the most haunting sound was a laugh. A laugh I knew all too well. It echoed through the maze, growing louder with each step. The figure finally stopped at the edge of a dilapidated playground. There, on a rusty swing, was the source of the laughter. She looked almost like my younger sister, but her eyes held a sadness I had never seen before. The weight of realization hit me. This nightmarish realm was a reflection of my deepest fears and regrets. And she, or the shadowy version of her, was a manifestation of the guilt I felt over her disappearance. She rose from the swing, her movements ethereal, and extended a hand towards me. "Help me," she whispered, her voice a haunting melody. The choice was clear. I could reach out, try to save this apparition, and perhaps find redemption. Or I could turn away, search for an escape, and leave behind the ghosts of my past. The world around me seemed to close in, the whispers growing deafening. The weight of my decision and the consequences it would bring pressed heavily on me. And as I stood there, torn between the shadows of the past and the uncertainty of the future, I knew that this Halloween night would change my life forever. I could barely catch my breath as the distorted streets of this nightmarish town spiraled around me. The laughter of children, which once signified joy, now seemed like a haunting mockery. The familiar landmarks were no longer comforting. They were grotesque versions of their former selves. But the most haunting of all was the shadowy figure that eerily resembled my younger sister. Her laughter echoed, guiding me through this maze of dread. The ground beneath me shifted as I approached her. Her silhouette danced in the dim light, revealing just enough to make my heart ache. "Do you remember our last Halloween, Alex?" she whispered, her voice dripping with sadness. Images flooded my mind, the dare, the laughter, the sudden disappearance. My heart raced as I realized the truth. "I want out," I stammered, my voice shaking. "Please, tell me there's a way out." She pointed towards a distant, shimmering portal. Hope surged through me, but as I moved closer, her icy grip tightened around my wrist. "The way out comes at a price," she murmured. I stared at the portal, so close yet so far. The weight of my choices pressed heavily on my chest. "What do you want?" I whispered, already dreading the answer. "You," she replied simply, "to take my place." I felt the walls closing in, the weight of the decision anchoring me to the spot. The memories of our childhood, the bond we shared, the guilt over her disappearance, they all screamed for me to stay. But another voice, one of survival and desperation, urged me to run. With a deep breath, I made my choice. Pushing her away, I lunged towards the portal. Her cries echoed in my ears, but I forced myself forward, diving into the shimmering light. The world spun as I landed hard on the familiar cobblestone streets of my town. The night was still young. Children in costumes laughed and played, and the old woman's house loomed ominously in the distance. I was back, but the candy, still clutched in my hand, was a bitter reminder of the world I'd left behind and the price I'd paid for my freedom. I walked away from the house, my steps heavy, my heart even heavier. The joyous festivities around me blurred into a cacophony of sounds and colors. The weight of my choices, the memories of the nightmarish realm, and the haunting image of the sister I left behind would forever scar my soul. As I wandered the streets, lost in my thoughts, I heard a familiar laugh. Turning around, I saw a shadowy figure in the distance, watching me. My sister's silhouette danced in the dim light, a haunting reminder of the decision I made. The night continued, but for me, Halloween would never be the same again.